And we're live! Welcome to another edition of RockSim Live. I'm Tim Van Milligan. I'm the host today. I think I'm the host almost every time now. I'm trying to do 20 things at once here, so hopefully the microphone is working and the video is working. And I know there's some people here, so we must be live. So I have the chat going. I got a computer monitor here that I'm watching the chat. So we have Carlos here, and he says, hello from cold and windy Marietta, Georgia, USA. We have Frank Nobile from West Bend, Wisconsin. He says, it's nice to join you. And well, Frank, it's nice to have you here too. So this is, I don't think I've seen you before. Johan is here from the Netherlands. Johan says, he sent me a RockSim file, and we'll talk about your RockSim file today, Johan. Carlos says the audio is good. So thank you again for being here, everyone. And if you would like to be recognized like these other gentlemen have been recognized, go ahead and say hello in the chat and where you're watching from. And what we're here today is to talk about RockSim, RockSim Pro, and the Launch Visualizer. So if you have a question, that's what we're here for, is to answer your questions. So go ahead and put those in the chat. If you're watching this on replay, then send us an email. And we'll try to answer it the next time. We have Rob's Rocketry. He says from Chile, BC, British Columbia. So we have an international audience today. We got the Netherlands, we got Canada, we got the United States. If you're from a different country, we're waiting for you. So let me put my other screen on here and let me show you my desktop. There it is, and my face is not showing. Let me reset this camera. I'm working on it. There it is. The microphone still seems to. Oh, there I am, down in the corner. All right. So if you have never used RockSim before and this is your first time, and you'd like to learn more about it, where you get it is at apogeerockets.com. And so this is our website, apogeerockets.com. This yellow bar is not showing, but we're having problems with the post office today. Our website links to the post office. So when you place an order at Apogee Components, it goes to the post office, and it goes to UPS, and it goes to FedEx, and it finds what the cost will be to ship your item. This way we can keep our shipping costs as low as possible. We don't make money on shipping. That's not our goal. We make money on our products. So we try to charge the exact amount of shipping that it costs us to ship. It's like other vendors, they have no idea what it's going to cost to ship, and so they just give you a blanket amount of shipping. But our website is pretty sophisticated. It actually tries to figure out what size box all your items are going to fit in and how much it's going to weigh. And from that, it knows the weight and the box size, and then it can go out to United States Postal Service, FedEx, UPS, and find the cost to ship. But for some reason today, the post office's interface with our website is kind of intermittent. Some orders are going through because I've been seeing them come through. It's been a crazy day here today. I had to answer the phone myself because our shipping, our customer service people were low staffed today. People are sick because it's winter time. People are in school, and so I was it. I was the last line of defense, and it was tough. It was tough. I was trying to handle all these orders that were coming in through the website. And I didn't notice that we were having problems, but somebody else noticed that we were having problems. And so we put this note here. Normally, we don't have problems. And so normally you wouldn't see this note here at the top. So anyway, we're here about RockSim. So there's this scrolling banner here, and this is called a carousel. And you'll see ads for various items that are important to us. Like one is RockSim version 11, signing up for our newsletter. If you're not a subscriber, why not? When you subscribe to our newsletter, you get 50 free plans right away. And then every week you get some really great content. So I urge you, if you're not already a subscriber, just subscribe. You can always unsubscribe, but normally we don't get very many people unsubscribing. Usually they kind of fall off if they change their email address because they're getting spam from somebody else, but it's not us. Anyway, there's the RockSim 11, there's the newsletter, and then there's the Launch Visualizer, which was that last one I just missed. So the Launch Visualizer is our online version of RockSim, where it allows you to simulate the rockets, although you can't design them on the Launch Visualizer. You have to design them in RockSim or RockSim Pro. So if you scroll down on our homepage a little bit, we have the free RockSim training every week, which is what we're doing right now. If you click on this image of me or you click on somewhere else, it'll take you to our archive. And this is the archive of all the previous episodes. I believe we're a little bit behind in getting these up to date, but we'll get them up to date very shortly. So these are what we talked about previously, and there are timestamps here to find those YouTube videos, and it'll take you directly to that time in the video where we talk about it, so you don't have to watch the whole thing, so you can just watch what's important to you. Also, if you go to the how-to and guides menu right here, and then come down here to software, you'll find more information. Again, here's the RockSim live training archive. You can download a free trial. You can purchase RockSim right there as well. So I always talk about that just to get that out of the way. And so now let's get to your questions. We have somebody else from Calgary, Calgary, Alberta, not British Columbia. Minus 20 degrees C or minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit there in Alberta. Yeah, that's cold. I don't know if I've flown when it's that cold, but I've flown when it's pretty cold. You can still fly rockets in cold weather. It's just your fingers are getting really stiff when you're trying to hook up the igniter. Charles is here from New Jersey. Stuart LaFond from Vermont. He said he had a club launch last Saturday, not too warm, in the low 20s. That's cold too. We're supposed to have a launch tomorrow here in Pueblo, but our launch has already been canceled. They're expecting cold, drizzly weather, which is a shame because we wanted to test fly some new rocket designs. Carlos K says Apogee products are shipped wonderfully. Never had an issue. So thank you, Carlos, for saying that. Low Budget Bob is here from Buckeye, Arizona. Frank N says RockSim is telling me I don't have a motor tube using a minimum diameter airframe. I believe I have checked all the boxes. You know, let's take a look at that. All right, so let's open up RockSim, and let me see if I got this screen size to the right size. Okay, so I'm going to open up a minimum diameter design. The one that I'm going to use is, I'm going to go to my designs folder. I'm going to look for the Apogee Aspire, because I know that's a minimum diameter design. There it is, Aspire. Okay, so opening that up, here is the Aspire rocket. Minimum diameter means that the rocket motor just barely fits into the back end of the rocket. Normally, there's an engine mount tube, which is smaller than the outside diameter of the rocket. And so that would not be a minimum diameter, but this rocket right here is a minimum diameter. So first thing we want to check. So what he did was he went to prepare for launch. So this button up here at the top, you click on that, that's prepare for launch. And it will show you right here if it sees the motor mount tube. So it sees a 29 millimeter tube. So that tells me that I have the engine mount tube checked off. So let me go back, let me cancel for right now. And I'm going to go to my rocket design components. Now this is going to show me all the parts that make up a rocket. So a rocket is the sum of all the parts added together. And that defines a rocket. Just like in real life, it's like you got all these parts. So we have a nose cone at the front end of the rocket. And if I click on the parts, you'll see that it kind of like shadows all the other parts except for the one that you're clicking on. So if I click on forward body tube, so now that one comes live. The aft body tube right there. Inside the air, I got an engine block and I have fins attached to it. So if you don't know which part in the parts tree that you are looking for, because some people, they don't change the name of their parts. And I always recommend people change the name of the parts so that you can find them easier in this parts tree right here. But if you can't find it by looking at the names here, just come to the three-dimensional drawing and just click on the part that you're interested in. And then it will highlight it right up here. So this one says aft body tube. So now I know what tube that part is. And then if I just double click on it, it will open up the editor screen. So this is the editor screen. And you know, here I can tell it the inside diameter, outside diameter, the length of the tube. But then over here, there's a little box that says this is a motor mount. So if this is checked, that's what it, we check the box because we don't, RockSim is not smart enough. It doesn't have artificial intelligence in it. So it doesn't know which of these tubes in the rocket you're going to put your engine in. And the location where you put the engine in is important because it's going to change the center of gravity of the rocket. So if you put it in the front, it's going to put the motor in the front, and it's going to move your center of gravity way forward, which is not a bad thing. But normally, you'll put the rocket engine in the back. So we need to tell RockSim, as we're designing the rocket, and say, this is where I want you to put the rocket engine. And it will always stick it in the back of the engine, or the motor mount. So I'm going to click OK here. Being a little slow today. And then, so if you go here, our next thing to look at is, okay, so if you're not seeing this, so let me go back here and uncheck this box. So you'll see what will happen. So I'm going to say this is not a motor mount. I click OK. And it's thinking, it's just taking its time because my computer is slow. I got an old computer and I'm running the live stream at the same time, plus I got other programs running. So that's why my computer's slow. On your computer, RockSim is going to be blazing fast. I guarantee it. Okay, so now if I go here and if I click on that, I'm going to get this error that says, in order to run simulations, at least one body tube in each rocket stage needs to be designated as a motor mount. This is normally accomplished on the body tube and the inside tube editor screens. You can select the motor mount tubes now if you wish. Do you want to designate motor mount tubes now? And I'm going to say yes. So when I do, it goes through all the parts here and it just picks the motor or anything that's a tube. So I got a forward tube. And you can change the length of these columns here. I got a forward tube and an aft body tube. And this is why I recommend that you name them, because if they all just say body tube, body tube, body tube, body tube, it's going to be hard to figure out which tube is the right tube. So that's why I recommend you rename them. So I'm going to check aft body tube, and I'll click OK. And then it comes to the prepare for flight screen, which is called the RockSim simulation properties. And now it says, this is a 29 millimeter tube. Now from here, you'll click on choose an engine. And this brings up a database of all the 29 millimeter diameter engines. And I know they're all 29 millimeter because the diameter filter on the top says show only engines that match the motor mount diameter. So the tube was specified as 29, so it's only showing all the 29 millimeter motor tubes here. Now, if you come to this screen and it's blank, that could be the issue. In fact, I was talking when I was answering the phone this morning with somebody. His was blank. He wasn't seeing any motors. And we're not sure. We know this only happens on Windows computers, not Macintosh computers. So there's something with Windows, and it's not everybody's computer. It's only certain people, any special people. So what makes you special? And this is the part we don't know. The person that I was talking to on the phone today, he was running RockSim 10, not RockSim 11. So there was no problem with RockSim 10, and we know there's no problem with RockSim 11. So this tells us it's something specific to the individual's computer. And what is making your computer not show the list? That's what we're trying to figure out. So this person that I was talking to today, he had an HP computer from Hewlett-Packard. And he says that his computer has all kinds of other security apps built into it. So if you're not seeing your motor list, tell us what computer you're using, if it's an HP or not, because we're trying to narrow down what is causing this issue. Let's see. So that was Frank N. So Frank, hopefully, Frank, you can see the motors. The other thing to look at is the manufacturer filter. First of all, you can select any manufacturer you want, but I always choose all. And then also on the diameter filter, you can say show all engines. So not only is it going to show the 98, it's going to show all the other diameters as well. And then under the type filter, again, choose show all. So if all these are selected all, that's your best chance to see rocket motors. So do that. And if you're still not seeing rocket motors, then I'm going to cancel out of here, what you'll do next is come up here to the file menu and come down here to reload engine data. And when you click on that, it's going to bring up a selector screen to show all your motors. So the ones that RockSim sees are here on the right side of the screen. The ones that are in your database that haven't been put over into the right side are shown here on the left side. The location of that where RockSim is looking for the motors is this file path right here. So see, on Windows, it's in a different folder, and this is what we think might be happening is your computer is not looking in the right folder. It should be looking in the RockSim 11 data folder. So the last two should be RockSim 11 _11 and then /data. And if you're not seeing that, you need to browse to that location. The trick, though, is the location is in a hidden folder. So contact us and we'll show you how to get that hidden folder. Actually, we have a video on it on our website. Let me show you where you might find it. Again, on the website, go to How To and Guides, then come down here to RockSim, or come here down to Software, and then over on this side, and then down here at the very bottom, it says Adding Motors in RockSim. And when you click on that, it's going to give you some step-by-step instructions. And then another place to look, that's not what I was looking for. Go to, again, How To and Guides, Software, loading missing motors back into RockSim. So there's adding motors and loading missing motors. So click missing motors. And then there's this video here that will pop up in just a second. And this will show you how to get to that hidden folder. So just watch that video. It'll take you through it step by step. Okay, so okay. Johan sent me a file that I was going to take a look at. Charles Curlew, can't pronounce your name, Charles. He says, can RockSim do finless rocket design? So this is a question from Charles, and he says, can RockSim do a finless design? The answer is, let's take a look. So here I have a rocket. Here's the fins. I'm going to delete the fins. Really delete this component and say yes. At this point, I have a finless design. So if the question is, can I design a finless rocket? Yes, right there. Let's launch it and see what happens. So choose an engine. I'm going to choose, I'm going to choose the smallest engine. I got an E16, and let's make it a 6-second delay. Click OK, and let's do the flight profile. So the flight profile is going to be an animation of what this launch looks like with a rocket with no fins. So you can see back here is the rocket engine. So this is kind of like a launch area, and we got the rocket down here. And when we click on the launch button, rocket takes off, and I don't know if you notice this, but it's tumbling. So that's not good. Let's see, the highest point in the flight, it got up to approximately 165 feet, 166 feet. So that is not a good flight. If we put the fins back on it, it's going to go a lot higher. So now your question is, can you design a stable finless rocket? And the answer is yes, you can. It is possible to make a rocket that has no fins on it that is stable. Now, I'll tell you, I'll give you a hint. The shape of that rocket is not going to be long and skinny like this. It is going to be like a cone. You can make a cone fly, but it's not as impressive as rocket without fins. Now, your next question might be, can you make a rocket that has a gimbaled motor? Because NASA, when they build rockets, they don't put fins on them anymore, right? Like the Falcon Heavy, the Falcon 9, the SpaceX Starship. They don't have fins on them anymore. And we did an article on that. So if you go How To and Guides, come down here to Picoflight newsletter, then come over here to all newsletters. and you go, we're going to do a search on our newsletters because I don't know which newsletter it is. So I'm going to do a search and do a Control F, and let's go finless. So here's, finless rockets using engine-driven gas dynamic stabilization. But that's not the article I was looking for. Stability. I'm clicking through these. Come on. Stability of short, stubby rockets. That's not it either. Fins. No fins? I can't. I'm having a hard time finding the article that I'm looking for. If I type in fins, there's 41 times that I've written articles that mention the word fins. Okay, I'm looking. Oh, here it is right here. Issue number 248. Remember that number, 248. So if you click on that, come on, load. This will tell you all about gimbaled rocket engines and why NASA rockets like this one right here do not, that's the Ares 1X, do not have fins on them. And the reason is it's kind of like a motorboat where you can steer the boat, the direction the boat's going to go, by changing the direction of the thrust that the motor makes. So your question is, can RockSim design rockets like that? And the answer is no. And the reason is it's really hard. It's really hard to, yes, it's just really hard. So hopefully, Charles, that answered your questions. And Charles's answer is, sorry, this is from the one newsletter that had dynamic thrust. And that was the one that we looked at here, gas dynamic. Finless. Right here, 379. This one is a finless rocket with gas dynamics. And again, RockSim will not do this because it has to do with the aerodynamics. Did it not open? Come on, open that up. There we go. Okay, so this article explains gas dynamics. So basically, if you look down here, let me make this bigger. How come I can't? Oh, here it is. All right, so here you'll see that here's the rocket engine, and we're letting air in the inside, and what's going to happen is air is going to be sucked in because of Venturi effect, and that gives you more mass flow out the bottom. It does work. These rockets aren't very, they're marginally stable, and they don't go very high because as soon as the rocket engine burns out, they immediately go unstable. And as you know, the flight of a rocket, typically, the engine burns for maybe 2 seconds. From liftoff to apogee, which is the highest point in the flight, can be anywhere from 7 to 10 seconds. So as soon as 2 seconds of motor burn happens, normally you'd have 5 or 6 seconds of coasting where it's going nice and straight. But as soon as after 2 seconds, it just starts tumbling. And so you don't get any altitude at all. Even with gimbaled engines, as soon as the engine stops burning, you lose all your stability control. So the only way to control a rocket without an engine is with fins. And this only works when you're in an atmosphere. It doesn't work when you're on the moon because there's no atmosphere there. But RockSim cannot do it because the dynamics of that situation is just overly complex. He says 379. Okay, so we talked about issue number 379. Rob's. Let me go back a little bit because there's some questions back up in here. Okay, so Johan's rocket. I got to talk about Johan's rocket because it's kind of cool. Zero G Prince says, "Hey Tim, what is the maximum size altimeter that can fit in the Invicta?" So what the heck is an Invicta? Okay, so if you're on the Apogee website, go to the top. In the search bar right here, type in Invicta, and it will populate, and you can just click on that, and this will show you the size of the Invicta. So this is the Invicta rocket, and if you click on the image, it'll bring up a bigger image, and then you can step through them. This is a 2-stage rocket. And it's another liftoff shot, and you can see how big the rocket is right here. More images. Okay, so here is the eBay of the Invicta. So you can kind of get an idea of the size. So the diameter of this tube is 3 inches. The eBay length, this question has come up before, and I have gone ahead and answered it on our website. I did this morning, right here. So the eBay dimensions are 5.75. That's the length. The inside diameter is 2.8 inches, and the maximum height is 1.3 inches. So you're saying, what do we mean by maximum height? So if we go back to that image here, oops, that's the one we want. So the maximum height is from the base of this plate to the inside edge of the coupler that it sits in. Now the coupler is round, so it's only that maximum height at one point in there, and then everywhere else it's a little bit shorter. But the question is, which eBay or which altimeter will fit in there? So here's the size, and then if you go to our altimeters, so if you go to shop and come down here to electronics and payloads, and we want either staging electronics or dual deployment. So let's click on the dual deployment, and we're going to look at the size of these altimeters and try to find the biggest one. So the RRC3 has a length of 2.56 inches, and remember we're at 5.75, so yeah, that's going to fit. A width of 1 inch, and we were at 2.8 inches, so yeah, that's going to fit. And the height of 0.49 inches, so about a half of an inch tall. So yeah, that's going to fit easy. So the answer to your question is, every altimeter that we at Apogee sell should fit easily into the Invicta. But you're going to want a staging altimeter. So if you go back to electronics and payloads, and you come to the staging electronics, and these are our altimeters that can do staging. So any of these is going to fit just fine. If you want to have the smallest one, it's the Blue Jay Plus. This thing is like really tiny. So you can see just how small it is by comparing it to, the average size of a hobby knife. It's really small, and it will do staging. So don't worry about what electronics is going to fit in the Invicta. Pretty much everything's going to work. Zero G Prince says, also, is there a dark mode for RockSim? And the answer is no, not yet. I've talked to the programmers about it, and it's on our wish list, but we're not there yet, unfortunately. Rick DeFoss is from New Hampshire is here, so he says hello, greetings. Carlos says, my iMac Pro running the latest Apple and RockSim version works fine. Big screens are RockSim's friend. Yeah, right now I got a small laptop. Rob's Rocketry says, are the motors contained in an SQL database? The answer is no. They are stored in a folder. Let me bring up my Finder window. Come on. Okay, so on the Macintosh, I'll show you on the Macintosh because I'm not on a Windows computer. So if you go to the Go menu, and then you hold down the Command key. Is it the Command? No, it's the Option key. You'll see that it's there's one extra folder that's showing up, and it's a hidden folder. It's called your library. And if you open that up, okay, so now I'm in Apogee, the library, and then you come down here to Application Support. Open that, and then come down here to Apogee Components. Oops, I went into Illustrator. Apogee Components. Okay, so then you're in RockSim, and I have all of these are old versions of RockSim. I keep them on my computer because I'm doing tech support, so that's why I have a lot of RockSim. But you're just going to have one, and it's probably going to be RockSim 11, or maybe RockSim Pro 4, or both of those, because it could be both. They'll both run fine together. Okay, so then inside of RockSim 11 is all these folders. One of them is called Data, and this is where your engine files are stored. So open that up, and then you get all your engine files. Now these are, you'll notice the format. Some of them are .eng, some of them are .rsc, and something is opening up. Down here, what's opening up is a program called Engine Edit. Engine Edit is what we use to modify the engines. So in RockSim, engines can be stored in two different ways. They can be stored separately, like that file only has engine data for this particular engine. And here's another one, Apogee Components F10. RSE stands for RockSim Engine. ENG is the old RASP format. RockSim can read either format, the old RASP format or the ENG or the RSE format. The difference in the format is the RASP format doesn't store a lot of information, where the RockSim format stores a lot more information, and that allows us to do better sorting. So for an example, in the RockSim format, we can tell the rocket, are you single use? Are you reloadable? Are you a hybrid motor? And now I can go and sort my engine database by one of those three things, single use, reloadable, or hybrid. And that's what, the kinds of things that the RockSim format stores. The other way that RockSim stores information is that it could be a manufacturer, and then it's not just one engine, it's a whole catalog of engines. And the reason that we do it both ways is because new engines are added all the time by the manufacturers. They're always making new engines. Aerotech and Quest and Estes and Cicerone, they're making engines a lot. And so when those new ones become available, we got to get them into the database as fast as we can so that you can use them. So this is where they're stored. So they're either going to end with .rse or .eng. And then there's other things that are stored in the data folder, and these are your parts folders, or your parts, your components, like nose cones. BH stands for bulkhead. So this is your bulkhead data, and there's two of them. There's the standard one and a backup, and these are standard CSV files. So you can open them in Excel if you want to look at them. I don't recommend it, but you could if you wanted. So there's things like that, and you'll find as I scroll through here. There's a lot of Cicerone motors. CR data stands for centering ring data. EB is engine blocks. FS, I think, is fins. Here's graph data. So there's a lot of stuff that's in here. So it's not stored as an SQL database. It's stored as individual data files. That answers that question. Frank N says, I have an HP OS 11. Does the same thing. I usually toggle between Aerotech and something will give me the motor list. Otherwise, I don't have much problems. Thank you for your advice. So again, it's an HP machine. So that's a good piece of data for us to have, because now we can kind of narrow it down to an HP machine. Charles says, sorry, this is from one of the newsletters that had dynamic thrust. Okay, so we talked about that one. The one with holes in the bottom. Yes, says 0G prints. Purple Haze says he's David from Michigan, but he's in Florida right now. So we're all jealous, David, because we're all tired of winter. I don't know what the groundhog saw on February 2nd, but I hope it was where he saw a shadow and said, early spring. Guppy Guy says, how to mount Kevlar shock cord with an ejection baffle. On baffle or through and onto the motor mount. So this is not a RockSim question. This is a rocket design question. So let me see if I have an idea here. I'm going through my mind trying to figure out. So let's go back to the Invicta. So the Invicta is a brand new rocket. It's on my mind right now. We are going to release it on Tuesday of next week. The rocket is done. It's in the box, ready to go. So there's nothing that prevents us from releasing it now, except for we like to do it on Tuesdays because that's fun. So this one does have an engine ejection baffle in it. So I can show you a picture. So I'm going to download the instruction sheet, and we'll look at the images, and I will try to answer your question of how we do it and maybe how you might do it in the future. Okay, so I am looking for the ejection baffle, which is in the upper stage of the rocket. Okay, so the ejection baffle is part of the eBay sled. So on one side of the sled is where you mount your electronics, and that's kind of what I showed you before. And on the bottom side, since we got this coupler and it's got a flat surface on it, we got a little channel underneath the electronics, and we said, hey, let's put a baffle in there. So the baffle is 3 rings that, when put together, create an ejection baffle. So it looks like this image right there. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you. So this is what it looks like. So it'll have a bulkhead here, and then the ejection charge has to go around these holes here, through this one, back through that one, and then over on this side. So it's kind of snaking its way, not up and down, but left and right. So the ejection charge has to go left, right, and then out. So what we did for mounting the shock cord is we put a tab on the front end of that baffle, and that is where you're going to install your shock cord. Let me see if I got a picture. Yeah, so right here. So we're attaching the shock cord to the front of that baffle, and it's also the eBay of the kit. That's a really good question. That's the easiest way, because if for some chance you ever have to replace your shock cord, replacing it at the anchor point of the motor mount is going to be really hard. In fact, it's probably going to be impossible. Because how do you get the shock cord through there and then tied to something down here inside the tube? It's pretty much, you can't do it. So that's why we do it up here. This is it's a strong point. It's probably 99% as strong as the one down here, maybe a little weaker. We don't know, but it's strong. It's still a good solid anchor point, because everything is epoxied and glued here. It's strong. So that answers that question. He's got a screw eye, but it would be the same thing. Reggie Morrow from Iowa. He says, it's a blizzard in Iowa, son of a gun. He says, do you carry rockets from North Coast Rocketry? All right, so the answer is yes. So if you go to the shop menu here on our website, and then come over here to the right side, and you can see View Rockets by Manufacturer. So if you click there, it's going to give you a list of manufacturers in alphabetical order, and then you can just scroll down until we find North Coast Rocketry. And so here's North Coast Rocketry, and so here are all the rockets from North Coast Rocketry that we have. So the latest one that they just released was the SA-14 Archer XL. If you click on that, it'll take you to the page where you can see how big it is. So that's what it looks like. You know, how big it is. That's an actual size photo. The background is photoshopped in because it's winter here, and we didn't want to have it like a winter photo, so we put in a nice spring photo. This is what it looks like when launched. That's Matt Steele from North Coast Rocketry. He sent that photo for us to use. That's the parts of it. I'm just clicking through. I think there's one more launch photo. Yeah, so this is the one we flew a couple of weeks ago, and you can see there's still snow on the ground. It was actually a nice day. It was like in the low 50-degree Fahrenheit, but there was still a lot of snow on the ground that you had to trudge through. It was a beautiful launch. The rocket flew great. That's one difference between Apogee and everybody else, is we actually build the rockets even though we don't manufacture them. Because we want to know what you're going to go through when you buy this rocket. So we build and launch everything. And so then we can write a description of the rocket, what you're going to experience when you do it. And then we can give you some advice, on what videos on our website that we would recommend that you watch to build it. We have the launch visualizer right here. That I don't know if you guys have been clicking on these things. You just click on them, and it actually launches the launch visualizer in your browser right here. And you can run simulations with the rocket right here at the Apogee website. So what it's done here is it's not finished loading yet. It's still loading, but it will load the image, and you'll see the Archer XL down here, and then you can run a simulation with it. It's not exit page. It won't let me exit the page. Okay, so anyway, why you want to buy it from us versus from other places. Then your next question is, do you get a discount? And the answer is depends. What you describe as a discount, because what we've given you on this particular page is a lot of value, and we're selling it for a low price, but we can't go any lower than what the price is on our webpage, because otherwise, we can't make any money. We actually got these kits in, and we released it to our newsletter. So if you're not on the newsletter, you don't know about these things. But as soon as it hit the newsletter, we just sold out like that, just really fast. So other people think it's a value because they scarfed them up really fast. We have more on order, and we'll get more of this particular rocket, but we have other ones. If I hit the back button, and if I go back down to the Archer, see, they have a smaller version of the Archer. It's not the XL. XL stands for extra large. So this one is smaller. So this one is a 2.6-inch diameter, where the other one was 4-inch diameter. So it generally looks the same. It goes higher because it's smaller, and it uses about the same engines. Carlos says, aren't there articles on stable spinning rockets? And I think yes. So again, this is not a RockSim question. This is a question about the Apogee website. So again, go to How To and Guides. Come down here to Peak of Flight newsletter. You can go to all newsletters, and then we can do a search on this page. Do Command F or Control F on Windows, and it brings up a little search bar, and then you can type in the word like spin, and we have issue number 228. Talks about spinning rockets. 84 and 83 are helicopter rockets which spin, so that would probably not be a good one. So that other article, Why Spinning Rockets Fly Straighter. So read that one. It'll get you started. And if you want to simulate them, we can do that in RockSim Pro or the Launch Visualizer. Zero G Prince, he says, thanks. I think the egg timer quasar will fit in the Invicta. Okay, I don't know what size that is, but if it's as big as any of those that we sell, they'll fit fine. Zero G Prince says, why don't you just pull from thrust curve? And the answer is, he's talking about the engine files again. So back in RockSim, when I was showing you the engine files, you can pull engine data from thrustcurve.org. So again, what you do is you go to import, go to File, Import, and then select Engine Files. And then it will bring up a screen for you. Just a second here. Oh, nope, wrong one. Cancel out of that. No engines imported. You go to File, Reload Engine Data. So this is where we were before. And so up here it says download engine data. So if I click on that tab, this screen right here will search the website thrustcurve.org. So it will go, Aerotech, and you can say make it 29 millimeter, and we'll start a search. And what it's doing right now, it's connecting to the internet, going to thrustcurve.org, and it's pulling information, and we've got an error. And this is the reason why we don't go to thrustcurve.org every single time we want to run a simulation. Because if there's something wrong with the internet or something wrong with the thrustcurve.org website, it's going to kick out an error. So what we want to do instead is to download all the engine files onto our computer and run them from there. But at the same time, we can download engine files from thrustcurve.org either manually or RockSim can do it automatically. And RockSim is set up to go out to thrustcurve.org and look for new engines and download them into your database. And it does this at startup. And you can check whether or not yours is set up. You got to go to the settings or the preferences for RockSim. On the Macintosh, it's under the RockSim menu. I think on Windows, preferences is going to be under the file menu or the help menu. It's one of those two. You look for preferences. And then when you're in the preferences, there's going to be a tab here on the very far right that says Auto Engine Update. And here's the little checkbox that says Auto Update the Engine Database. So if it's unchecked, it's not going to go to thrustcurve.org and look. But if you check it, it will. And then you can set how often it looks. So mine personally, I think by default, it is set up to look once a month. So every month, mine will go out to thrustcurve.org, look for engines, and if it finds them, it will alert you whether or not you want to download them or not. So yes, RockSim does it. That's where we get our engine database files from. So Apogee does not control the engine database files that are on thrustcurve.org. So if the engine file is there or not, we don't control that. That's controlled by that website. And the accuracy of those thrust curves, again, we don't control that. But most of them are pretty good. Rick DeFoss says, attaches, I missed one. Stanley Family Memories says, my daughter Sophia just received her first rocket today. Well, congratulations, Sophia. You got to remember that. You go associate your first rocket with Valentine's Day. It's like next Valentine's Day says, yeah, this is when I got my first rocket. I remember because it was on Valentine's Day. She is 6 years old and excited to be part of the hobby. Thanks for your videos. So you're welcome. It's great to have Sophia as a member. Everybody say congratulations to Sophia. Put that in the comments so that the Stanley Family Memories has a big list of everybody that says congratulations, Sophia. Rick DeFossa says he's talking about the engine shock cord again, whether or not you attach it to a baffle or directly to the engine mount. And he says attaches just like on Quick Draw. So what is Quick Draw? Let's go to our Apogee website again. And let's go to the top and type in Quick Draw. And here's the Quick Draw. Download the assembly instructions. So let's do that again. I forget how this one attaches, but I'm sure the Quick Draw has engine mounts that are removable. So the engine mount, let me see. I'm looking in the images, and it's kind of blurry because it hasn't finished downloading yet. Okay, so that is the forward attachment point. And where is... Did I miss it? Does it have a baffle? I'm sorry for it's blurry. It hasn't finished downloading yet. Or Maybe I need to refresh. It's going to take a while. Sorry about that. Don't want to leave you with a brown screen or gray screen. Reggie Murrow says, nice. Reggie Murrow says, why is it only 29 millimeters? Reggie, are you talking about the Invicta? I'm not sure the question there. Rick DeFossa says, the slow-mo spins. Yes, the slow-mo is another spinning rocket. Slow-mo, click on that and brings up the slow-mo. And this rocket, we did design it to, oh, that's a small photo. You can't see much there, but the fins, if you can look right here on this tube, you'll notice that it doesn't look, this slot doesn't look straight like that one. And that's because we actually canted the fins a little bit to make it spin. Again, you can see these slots here are not perfectly straight like these up here at the front. You can't see it. They're just canted slightly. It's a beautiful rocket. I like that rocket. Zero G Prince. He says, fun fact, the Athena H sounding rocket had motors that would spin to stabilize it. That is correct. I think also the what is that one with the big nose? Has spinning as well. Honest John. We don't sell an Honest John. No, but if you go to the internet, Honest John missile, and it searches there, and as soon as a picture loads, can we get a good picture? There's multiple versions of the Honest John. See, we want the one with the big nose. Is it going to load that image? It's being slow. Still loading. Reggie Murrow is talking about the Archer XL. He's asking it, is it only a 29 millimeter diameter engine? And the answer is yes. North Coast, they only produce rocket motors kits right now with 29s. Now that one should be easy to, no, I take that back. It's not going to be easy to convert because you'd have to recut centering rings and the fins, because they're through the wall fins. Jeez. So view image. The page isn't working. But here at the very top where my finger is are rocket engines that angled out to the side and it spun it up. So having a spinning rocket is kind of like a rifled bullet and it flies nice and straight. Oh, I think we got all the questions except for Johan's question. Now this is Johan, and he built this rocket here, and it's a beautiful cluster rocket with 2 strap-on boosters. And he sent me the file, and he couldn't get it to work, but then he figured it out. He couldn't get it to work because he had this designed it as a 2-stage rocket when it's actually a single stage. And as soon as he redesignated as a single stage, then it worked just fine. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Johan from the Netherlands. It's a great rocket, so awesome. I'm going to close that because I think we're done. We're after 3 o'clock. Delete. What the heck? I switched screens on you? I don't remember clicking the screen. Hopefully you saw my desktop. I swear I was showing the desktop. But if you didn't see the screen, I'm sorry for that. We can always take those questions again next week. No, next week I will not be here. I will be gone for 2 weeks. Next week, I have to go. My daughter has a diving competition in Texas, so I'll be in Dallas. And then the following week, I will be in Arizona launching rockets with the it's a rocket contest. What's it called? The Arizona Cup. That's just the name of it, but it's down in Tucson, Arizona. So if you are in Tucson, Arizona, that last weekend of February, come on down to the rocket launch. I'm sure if you search on it on the internet, you'd find it. There's the club down there, Superstition Space Modeling Society. I think that's it, SSS. It's on their club field. So search that out, check it out. It's going to be a great time. I'm hoping it's warm. The last time I was in Arizona for this contest, it was in the low, I don't think it was in the low 40s. I think it was in the upper 30s, and it was cold. And the day before, it snowed, and they don't get snow in Tucson, Arizona very often. And I landed at the airport, and there was snow on the ground. And I said, "Am I in the right state? Did they transfer me to North Dakota or something?" But yeah, I was in Tucson. There was snow on the ground, snow in the mountains, and it was melting fast. But I did not expect it. Because it's spring training right now for the baseball season, so you don't expect snow during spring training. So thank you for coming here. So we're going to be, it's going to be the first Friday in March that we'll be back here at RockSim Live, and we'll take your questions then. So again, thank you for coming. I'm going to give you a countdown and a launch, and then we'll be out of here. So in 5, 4,